Hello, Mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's First Circuit Podcast number 121,000. So, today we have Ian as our guest.
Hello.
Oldbob 10025.
Hey guys.
Biter.
I'm not a guest.
And myself, Lars, the Casual Mechwarrior. Meant to say host, but we know who we are as always. Alright, and for today's topics, we're going to be going over some Mechwarrior Online stuff with a sale and another weekend event. Some update on the Mechwarrior 5 with a Game Pass thing. We're going to go ahead and talk into that. And we're probably going to end it off with the update of our thoughts and findings from the newest update of the group and solo queue merge. Coming up next.
The player choice sale number 2.
Whatever.
There's another sale? You kidding?
Yeah, I mean it's not quite whatever. It's actually pretty solid sale. So it's going up until Wednesday, May 13th. You can still get some good stuff out there. Like you can get engines 50% off, which is great since we currently experience a surge of new players. So engines are always great. You can get colors and decals 50% off for those of us who still have so much MC to spend. And speaking of MC, for the first time in, I think, ever, are we getting a double MC special event. So if you buy MC with real money, the $15 package, you get twice the amount of MC. But only once. You cannot buy the package twice. You only get a double once.
So it doesn't stack is what you're saying?
Nope.
Huh,
So
alright.
This is kind of an interesting one because I always said MC is way overpriced for what it does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder what your guys' opinion is if now with the double MC, would it be worth it? Basically $15 for enough to buy a Assault Hero mech.
Well, it's only one mech. You know, basically you're looking at when they used to spend $15 to $20 for a couple mechs with the mech packs. So in this, in essence, you're getting one hero mech, which it's not as good as it was before, but of course they don't have to really do anything. They just have to go put in the code saying, okay, well, it's double MC. So they're actually, you know, it's better for them as a business to go and do that.
Yeah, but hear me out. If you bought the mech package, the hero upgrade has always been $15 as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same value, only you're getting MC, which is of course slightly more flexible.
But you're only getting one mech though, compared to all the different other ones that, you know, normally spend $20 for a mech pack.
But that has to be when we're talking assault mech, like 100 ton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's 5,000 for an Atlas, but it's way less for a Hunchback or whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Up to
the most expensive one that I always have in mind is the Direwolf Ultra Violet, which is 6,200.
But is that on sale right now though, or what?
Yes, there are also mechs on sale for 50% off MC price. So technically you could get 2 assault mechs with this MC.
Depending on the one you want to get. So
I mean, since they're not actually putting out any mech packs, I guess it's a good deal. You know, in case you wanted that assault mech, you know, the one.
It's
with
also,
the,
if you wanted to add even more math to try the equation, compare it to a dropship deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because
true.
at least, was it 20 for the lights, and then 25, 30, 35 for the assaults, and it's like a back of 4 of them, often heroes. So the dropship deals are still pretty good value for money, I would say. The MC though is indeed flexible, and you can wait for sales and whatnot.
Events and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I've always personally just got MC through the events, and just over enough time, you wait until a sale and you spend only the MC on mech bays and hero mechs. The reason to get MC would also be the loyalty rewards. Like I did that. I bought the tiniest MC package for the Missile Irby back in the day.
Yep.
This could be your one purchase of MC for the year. It's twice as much as usual, but well, the thing is they used to put more effort into variants, and we don't know how they reward people for this year. So But yeah, at least for the sake of argument, if you're only going to make one MC purchase, this is at least one of the best times sort of to do it, unless you just want to save on real world money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. And you're right about the dropship deals. They're I mean, just a great deal, especially ones where you get to pick all the different hero mechs and all that kind of stuff too that you wanted, type thing. So yeah, true.
So I guess this deal would make sense for people who have their eyes on a very specific mech and potentially some decals, some bolt-ons for that particular mech, but who don't really care about the value from dropship deals.
Or if they're going to
and who also don't want to wait for the next dropship deal.
Yeah.
Well, plus also too, it creates a revenue stream for PGI to go and have some money, basically instead of that they normally didn't have through Mechwarrior Online through people not purchasing mech packs anymore. So, I mean, a business standpoint, it's fine. Just I think the value depends.
I think
on
the
person.
price here is a lot better than purchasing mech packs at this. Like mech packs, you always wanted to get it as a pre-order.
Yeah.
And now at least I would never really advise a mech pack. The number of mechs you're getting, and they're all most of them available for C-bills. So why are you putting money into it? Yeah.
Now, granted, I mean, for people who are more experienced or who have been playing this game for a long time, like ourselves, personally, I wouldn't buy it just because we already have enough that we need. So I would say this is more towards new players if we are getting new players in, honestly.
Yes. New player or returning player who are rogue, as returning players always seem to be.
Space poor.
Yeah. I think it's always good to sort of keep up this thing, particularly for a free-to-play game. Monetization, the hardest part is getting that first purchase. And Mechwarrior Online has not got a beginner pack. So this is sort of the closest they've ever sort of done to that first purchase to give you something really sweet. And honestly, at least I think this isn't the best that could be for a first-time purchase, but it's on the right track.
That's a good point. They should do like a beginner purchase pack or something like that.
Well, they have those. They're
Really?
called the performance packs, which you can get both on Steam and in the store, but they're still geared toward the old skill system where you needed 3 mechs of the same chassis to master them.
Okay.
So they're not really great value nowadays because A, it's old mechs, really old, and B, you're getting 3 variants of the same chassis, which probably doesn't make too much sense for most people.
Nah.
You want to
Maybe
spread out,
update
you
the
want to
pack,
buy
though, like
random
maybe-
stuff.
Yeah.
It would be,
update,
it'd be it'd be a good idea if they did update that.
So like on Steam, I only see the Solaris Hero Pack, which is in my currency 25 quid, so it's like $30 or something like that. It's a fairly big purchase. The thing with these introductory packs is you really want to have something at a low price point, something like $5-10 at the most, and you give them a really sweet deal, but it's only once.
Yeah, once, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I've pulled up the starter bundles I was talking about. These are specifically called starter bundles.
Yeah.
Not on this page, but I've seen them called that.
But it's all of just one mech.
They're just way too expensive. Like even the Locust, which I would say the Locust is probably one of the better light mechs or the better valued light mechs. But still $13 for 3 mechs, and what else is in there? I don't want to buy it. Give me details.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh god, this webpage is not up to date. Yeah, you get the hero mech, you get the
champion mech.
you get a champion mech, you get a sand mech. Like that's not bad. And you get the mech base, of course, some premium time.
Oh.
It's not a bad bundle. I just think it's overpriced for what it is.
Maybe $9.99 or something like that, or even like $8.99 or something.
I'd even say something like $7. It's like $6.99 maybe. It's only a light mech bundle.
But maybe just like a first time purchase though. Like a first time purchase for anybody. To go ahead and get that or something like that.
Yeah, I mean if you want it like that, maybe make these packs slightly cheaper. And then for people who have never bought stuff in Mechwarrior Online, give them the chance to buy one of these for 50% off.
Okay, yeah.
One of their own choice. And that way it wouldn't be too much work, and it would still be this kind of like, here, come, make your first purchase kind of offer.
You usually sort of you don't want to have it like there's so many options here, any new player is going to be overwhelmed and like, oh, well, Am I going to
Yeah,
get the
okay.
Raven pack, the Locust pack, the Commando pack? I guess I have to ask someone which ones of these are good. Like, you just want a simple, a light mech, a medium mech, a heavy mech, and assault mech, all of which are noob friendly, premium time, colors, cockpit items. Just bundle it all in as just a welcome to MWO package.
That would obviously be ideal, yes.
Yes.
Most of the time, the
yeah,
people are
just
going to pick
looking
it.
at the prices here, that's just
Yeah, that's
no.
yeah.
The
For
prices
anyone for
keep
the
ratcheting
Atlas.
up way too much. Like the Raven pack is $21.
Yeah.
The welcome pack has to be dirt cheap and offer a really good value for money relative
And I
to
don't
other
think
MWO
there's
stuff.
any clan pack in here, so these don't even really qualify.
Yeah.
No, it's all IS. That's how all these packs are.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
good.
Then dropship
Huh.
deals.
Yeah,
No dropship
currently
deals
not
available.
But yeah, I would say personally right now, to get into the game, like it's not a bad deal. The $15 MC, you can just choose your stuff. Issue is you need to find someone to give you advice what to actually buy with that 6K MC. Or alternatively, dropship deals probably the best option.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you could just buy the MC and just hold on to it until you find a better sale.
Yeah, you have to buy it and then wait for the sales.
And
So yeah.
let's see, am I still showing this?
You're still
I think my
showing the
screen is
dropship deal.
frozen up. Yeah.
There
Okay,
we go.
there's. Yeah, what I was talking about earlier, if you bought a Mac pack, the hero on its own costs $15.
Yeah.
So compared to that, the deal has a good value. But we have to consider these Mac packs have never been a good value, even with pre-order stuff.
Yeah, it's always been
Yeah,
pretty rough.
the game's monetization's always relied on dedicated but small following who are willing to pay these kind of prices. Yeah, well, we'll see what they do in the future. This doubling the MC purchases and whatnot. They obviously do need to keep the sales interesting. If it's always the same sales forever, we're just going to even the people who are sticking around are going to lose interest. And things like this,
Yeah.
this raises some eyebrows. Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So
And I'm just gonna say, engine's 50% off. I want to see that in every sale. Slash the engine prices by 50% in game.
Yeah, I know. And the colors too, man.
Yeah, I mean, colors are cosmetics. I'm fine with that, but engines have the real issue. Like we've experienced that yesterday in our Discord. We've had a new player who really wanted a flea, and the flea comes with a standard 120, which is obviously a terrible light mech engine, absolutely terrible one. So the flea on its own is 2.6 million, I think, Steebles. And then he had to buy an engine for, even on sale, 1.8 million more on top of that. So engines are just... I personally think engines are the biggest hindrance for new players to test out really new mechs. Because you kind of need an engine to really modify builds.
Yeah, it's why I usually suggest Omni-Mechs for new players. You save up for that one-time purchase, and then you have a huge number of weapon hardpoints you can experiment with. You don't have to worry with upgrades like double heat sinks or endo steel and all that stuff.
Yeah. And then once you play with those clan mechs, you can save up your C bills for for like a good month or two, and then go ahead into the Innersphere stuff.
Would you ever... If you start with clan mechs and you play clan mechs for your first 1 or 2 months, would you ever switch over to Innersphere?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I used to be clan all the way until about a year and a half ago. I'm more Innersphere now.
I'm an Innersphere guy, so all the way.
I don't know, man.
I've captured clan
mostly
mechs.
switched over to clan. It's just a convenience.
I mean, it's very convenient,
ATMs.
but
I
feel like there's just more you can do with Innersphere in terms of being able to customize engines and everything. So for me, going from that way, I was like, I'm sold. But anyway,
you have to be familiar with the game and the build mechanics and whatnot, much more so to build IS mechs. And the thing is as well, IS mechs, it's kind of like at least for a new player, if you're just choosing one at random, it's a bit like pulling the lottery, since you have no clue whether it has good quirks or not. If you have some experience of playing in a clan mech and you've seen a lot of a certain inner sphere mech, you're like, oh, hey, this one's used a lot because it has a lot of durability and good hard points. And you're like, I'll pick that one up. That makes some sense, rather than just picking an IS mech at random, which... is a very hit-on-miss thing. Like, I can always suggest to someone something like a hunchback, but it really depends on whether they like a big ballistic weapon and whether they like, if they build up a skill set with shielding, etc., etc. Well, that's much more of a jump into the pool than it is than getting a huntsman or something where you could just experiment like crazy.
Glaze mode. Sorry about that.
All right, but anyway, sales good, but I think we should probably get on and move on here, and let's see what else we got. We got the event going on. Good day, mates.
And since we're talking about the value of MC, it's another event that gives MC. So if you're not getting the sale, you can grind your MC here.
My favorite UAV one.
Oh, is it back in? Yeah, it is back in.
It's at the very top, just to aggravate old Bob.
Just piss me off.
Wait, how did I not get that?
But it is detect 8 enemies via UAV. So, oh wait, am I looking?
No, at the very top.
Yep, sorry.
Very top.
Yep.
Shoot down one
I
UAV.
scroll down a little bit. Yeah, I haven't done that one yet. I wonder why.
I wonder why. Yeah, 11 other people are battling for it, and then also 12 other members have to go do it. Have to go shoot a UAV. So yeah, the best one.
Yep. Okay, but in general, I think this is a pretty solid event. It's a lot of stuff like we've seen before. Just play the game, play diverse builds, and you're gonna unlock most of it. And let me just casually unlock that color. And there's some really good stuff in here. A couple colors, lots of MC, lots of C builds. And there's one big sort of final challenge where you have to earn 8 solo kills and 500 match score once for some skill points, which I always find really nice, and a bunch of C builds, enough to buy a medium mech. Yeah,
and actually that's 50 GSP. That I've never seen that much ever for GSP. I think that's actually that's really good.
Or something.
Yeah, that's actually a really good amount.
They're making sure, just like with the MC thing, to try and give the players enough incentive to stick around, so they're giving lots of stuffs.
Well, this is how it should have been a while ago. This is great. Yeah, so you can get a total of 100 GSP.
Yeah, you can just straight up, with the reward of this, you can buy a mech, kit it up, skill it up, all in one go.
That's good.
It's one of the better challenges.
And even customize it.
Yeah, and then once you get colors and everything, you can make your own custom mech, be it with colors and all that and everything. So, yeah, and you also give you some cockpit items in there, I think I saw. So, overall, this is a decent event.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt did a good job on this one.
There's always a balancing act, at least to play devil's advocate, that you don't want to give too much stuff away because, it devalues the value of C bills, MC, and whatnot. You want people to sort of actually spend time in the game and earn all of that stuff, and they do have to earn it in the event. But if everybody earns all their mechs within a couple of days, then they have no real necessary much reason to continue playing. So they do have to always... That's why they've always been cautious about giving too much stuff away. But if there's a whole bunch of players returning, it's good to encourage players to come back. It's good to have peaks and troughs in your reward system rather than just it being a monotonous thing forever.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's really great to see that the current peak in player number matches up with the current peak in rewards from events.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say having this event every single week, but have it maybe like once a month.
I'd even say once a month is too often, but like once every 2 or 3 months.
All right.
As Bio said, you don't just want to give away a free mech every month, even if it is a fair bit of playing to unlock all of this. You want to make this when people have a reason to play, when people have time to play, and make it somewhat of a special occasion.
You want to make the events fun and interesting, at least at some points, to give people reason to keep checking in. And the problem we've had, at least, was that it was always the same cookie-cutter events with very obscure requirements that gave mediocre rewards. And a lot of people look at, I have to do X amount of damage with, these 4 weapon systems. And at the end, I get a bobblehead and 50,000 C bills. Well, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, some people will go for it, but it's just a lot of people, just their eyes are going to glaze over with that, and it's not really going to be that impactful. It's all the problem we have. Yeah.
That's what's happening to us all the time. We look at events and we just kind of glance over and like, okay, nothing too special in here. We're not going to bother.
Yeah.
I wish in the future, at least with this point in mind, it's kind of what they try and do with the whole loot bag events. It's, like, oh, wow, we're giving you lots of stuff. But a lot of people just don't really bother with it, particularly with the 3 phases where it's, spread across several weeks and you only get your full rewards if you're playing in the last week. And, it's just, it doesn't...
Yeah, get your calendar going.
You have to get your calendar up and plan around it, and it's just that's not as rewarding as just what this event does, which is give some real impactful rewards for playing the game.
Yeah, I have to say this is one of the better ones. PGI does have a problem with doing the events, and people don't really spend money for the MC to go and do stuff because they just basically just collect the MC over a period of time. Because events, they just kind of hand out the candy without people buying the candy type stuff. But I mean, overall though, they do a good job as far as like making people happy with the candy. So I guess I love candy. I don't know, love candy there.
Yeah, and always keep in mind you do want to give away some MC because Mech-based. New player need access to Mech-Bay. Mechwarrior is a free-to-play game. You want to enable player to stay free-to-play if they really want to.
Yeah. And what you get initially, 4? Like that's a standard for all free-to-play games.
You get 4, which is obviously nothing. So yeah, you want to give away some MC early on.
Yeah.
True.
Which is kind of what you talked about with the cadet bonus, which should probably have a few MC or some mech bays in there added.
Mm-hmm.
Have they actually gave away free mech bays in the events? I forgot if they did or not.
They have once in a while, yeah.
But they're always valued really high.
All right. Shall we move on to a little bit on Mechwarrior 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the news on that?
I don't know.
I think we're all in the same boat. We're not exactly
I'm
sure.
just gonna pull up the tweet then. So
Go for it.
completely out of nowhere was retweeted this particular tweet by the Xbox Game Pass team. As far as I'm aware, the Xbox Game Pass is basically a subscription service that gives you access to a fixed amount of games, which you can play obviously on your Xbox, but apparently they also have some PC games in there because Microsoft is kind of trying to bring console and PC back together, which by the way is a great move. And yeah, back out of nowhere, Mechwarrior 5 got added to the Xbox Game Pass, which is interesting, but there is a big caveat in here. It's a special version of Mechwarrior 5. It's not the regular Epic Game Store version. It's a special build of the game, which does not have any mod support. There's absolutely no way to get mods on this version of Mechwarrior 5. And also there is currently at least no crossplay between Epic Game Store, Xbox Game Pass, and potentially in some months Steam.
So hold on a second. It's just for people who have the Game Pass, they can play online. Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you have the Game Pass, you can play Mechwarrior 5 on your PC. You can crossplay the co-op modus with other people on the Game Pass. But that's about it.
Okay. Game Pass, they give you it for free, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you could play it you can't play it on Xbox, obviously, but you could play it on PC, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just not. I don't know anything about the Game Pass. I haven't had Xbox.
At least that's
for
my
years.
understanding.
And
I also have no real idea. About this.
And I believe that there's no cross-platform with the Epic Game Store, so you can't play with people who have it through that, right? I think that's how it's going.
Correct.
That's weird. That's kind of bizarre, actually. That
So
they have
co-op
that.
is kind of on that part.
Yeah, that's the reason for the game, actually, to tell you the truth, with like
Was co-op.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, basically, if you have the Game Pass already and you've been holding off on Mechwarrior 5, this would be your chance to install it and just give it a shot. But personally, I wouldn't expect too much out of it because without mods, without co-op, the game it's fun for a few hours, but it's not fun for a long time.
I would say more than a few hours. I'd probably say a couple days, and that's it. Really, basically.
Yeah, it depends on how much you play. Like I would say 20 hours if you're into Mechwarrior, 20 hours, and then you kind of grow tired.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean,
in some ways, that's way better than paying full price for it in the upfront.
yeah, if he's getting it, then it was worth the playthrough.
And most gamers most gamers, not me, but they have the Xbox Game Pass because they have the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox. What's the Xbox One now? I'm old, so like I remember the normal
still
Xbox.
the Xbox One.
The Xbox Series X.
Okay, the Xbox One. Yeah, they have the Xbox One and Sega Genesis, whatever, that kind of
There's
stuff.
no more Sega Genesis.
I don't know. See, that tells you how much I know about console gaming.
There's no more
I don't
Atari
know
either.
No more Atari? What about Pong, man? Pong was the schnitchet when I was playing.
It's been a while since I've had an Xbox, but Xbox Game Pass is a separate subscription to necessarily Xbox Live, isn't it?
Okay.
Something,
Yes.
yeah.
Really?
I can't.
Oh.
I don't use it honestly. I don't know many people who have Game Pass, to be honest.
Neither do I.
I'm with the normal 360. That I had the Game Pass for Call of Duty when I was playing that game. You get all the special doohickeys and all that kind of stuff, but that's about it that I had it for long time ago.
So if you have it,
Yeah.
good on you.
I'm gonna bring it up for a second. Like, this is the web page for it, and let's see what the price is.
$14 a month.
Wow.
Let's
PC
see.
is $5 a month.
$5 a month for PC. So yeah,
Initial
$5 a month.
offer.
I mean, that's not. Obviously, we don't know how long you sign up for. If you can cancel any month, like $5 is pretty good to play Mechwarrior 5.
Yeah, you
And
know
you can
what?
easily-
Yeah.
For $5,
You can easily get through the game in 1 month.
And actually,
It's not that long.
it does say your first month is $1. So
Yeah.
you can just do
So
$1, $1, and then cancel it after a month.
I want to see if it.
I think it's worth it then. Yeah,
For $1?
for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'll buy that for $1. Oh my god. Oh, it's
That is why they are snapping up these kind of games and whatnot to try and pique
Yeah,
people's interest in the past and keep them along for all the games under its umbrella.
I mean, it has Age of Empires too. That's a good game.
And
Outer
Metro's
Worlds,
pretty decent, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Metro's pretty good. Like it's
Astroneer!
not-
Woo!
Astroneer.
Astroneer, yeah!
Always in there.
There you go.
Forza Horizon, I've heard, is pretty good. The Outer Worlds are pretty solid. Like it doesn't seem like too bad of a library.
Yeah.
I mean, for
I'm
$5
just
a month, I
personally
guess. Yeah.
very much opposed to any game subscription service. I want to own my games.
That
Yeah,
is
definitely.
something
As
that
much
I
as
would
you can in the
almost wanna
digital age.
try.
You don't do anything, but you have lots of games. So run
Yeah.
free in the playpen until we restrict you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, basically.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
so
okay, I guess.
if you got it, you go ahead and do it. If you don't have it, go for $1, play for $1, and
Buy
cancel.
that for $1.
That's my summary right there. I'm just going to condense it.
Okay.
All right, so I think we can go back on to our very last bigger topic for the day is the group queue, solo queue, or what some people have actually called it, soup queue.
Super. Yeah.
So,
That was
Funny.
pretty hilarious.
all right, so what is the current update on soup queue?
Okay, so Paul promised us some numbers and he gave us some numbers. Let me zoom in so you can hopefully see it if you're watching on YouTube.
Great.
So yeah, initial numbers from Friday, they gave us some timers, how long you sit in queue on average, and how it adjusted given certain changes they made. The main takeaway from this is, obviously matchmaking is difficult, and you have to balance between certain things. The main things PGI is balancing for is match speed, tier balancing, and weight class balancing, all of which are important components, and ideally you always want to be in the dead center and hit all point equal. Realistically though, you're not gonna hit all points. It's like every triangle in economics, you're always gonna go toward one corner because that's how triangles work apparently. And
Well, you don't
initially-
necessarily want to be in the center. It depends what you prioritize.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that, if you want to make sure that the weights are balanced out, the tiers are balanced out, you have to wait to get enough players into the pool to figure things out. But if you want to prioritize speed, then you have to sort of give up about those things and instead go into it. And that's the same for any corner in the triangle.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice the others.
Yeah,
And the
we're
problem is
basically-
to-
yeah.
Oh, well, I was just to say the problem is too. No one's gonna be happy. Period. It's just
And-
not gonna happen.
And dead center is pretty much neutral. You're just
Mm-hmm.
a neutral component if you're going dead center, which
yeah,
you know,
dead center is
not
usually
gonna-
the point where everyone is happy enough and there's nothing that's too upsetting.
Yeah.
But it's mostly nigh impossible to hit
But
this
because
so,
if you go neutral, things might not change, and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they did initially on Tuesday patch day, they went for speed. Just to get matches in, get numbers, makes sense. They changed it up pretty fast though. On Friday, they went for tier balancing. And I think that's something we all experienced. And on Friday, it took longer than Tuesday. We chucked it up mostly to too many groups trying to find matches, but this apparently also has had an impact. And also on that first Friday and Saturday, the weight class balancing was all over the place because they specifically went for tier balancing, which obviously wasn't satisfying for most people. Then they tried again to go for weight class balancing, which also wasn't satisfying because if you get people from tier 5 and people from tier 1, even if the tarnish is perfectly equal, chances are pretty good that it's gonna be a unsatisfying experience for some people. Yeah, so what they're trying to hit now is a focus on tier balancing, but with enough weight class balancing mixed in, while still maintaining somewhat of a decent speed. And that's basically the latest news we have. And at that point, they have a average wait time in quick play queue of 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, and the time being, he says, we're going to continue with that most recent waiting for the time being. And it seems to be mostly that case.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the update we've got. And I think, Bida, you collected some data. If you want to go ahead and share what you...
Well, first things first, just talking about the triangles and whatnot. Like, it's what I mentioned last week that they don't balance for the actual weight; they would balance for weight class. That's why, as I mentioned, the game has always, at least in solo queue in particular, had an issue where if you're in a 20-tonner, a 40-tonner, 60-tonner, 80-tonner, you are weighed as much as the top weight of your category. So, a Zeus is counted as the same as a direwolf. A Locust is counted the same as a Wolfhound, despite the Wolfhound being almost twice its weight, etc., etc. And that, at least on the lower ends, fleas and locusts can be so teeny and speedy, it's not a problem. But 40-tonners, 60-tonners, and 80-tonners in particular, they're always sort of seen as kind of weak, somewhat in solo queue. And that is still going to be the case when you're only balancing for weight class, and the matchmaker isn't trying to figure out to balance weight itself, even if it, as I said last week, you could take a bit of coding, but you could always just sort of see, okay, this team weighs this much, this team weighs that much, put the heaviest person on one side of a weight category and put someone who's the lightest of that weight category on the other side. But no, you have to make do with what they've got. What do you guys think of tier balancing as being a primary focus?
No.
For the matchmaker?
The problem is it's based over time, and that's all it is, really. You get carried throughout the whole matches and group queues from before, and you're tier 1, you really suck, or it's just over time you just get it. Just from playing a lot of games and just doing that kind of thing. I don't think tier balancing is good. Weight class and weight classes, I think it's more of my choice than like anything else.
I mean, actually, I'm on the slight opposite spectrum. Maybe so surprising to some, where I think tier balancing, does need to be taken into some consideration, only because the way I see it is that you could be tier 5, but you might only be starting out for like the first 2 days, and you have 0 experience. And when that happens, and if you're gonna drop solo, and you've only been playing for like a couple hours, and you're in that prime time where all the top tier 1s are going in, that might not really give for a good player experience. So in some ways, if you are a brand new cadet, I think it matters more than maybe the kind of person who's been playing for 5 years and you're like still tier 5 or tier 3. So I think some tiers do need to be taken into consideration, especially for those brand new cadet players.
It's definitely that you cannot completely ignore tiers. It's just I find the tier system in its current state is not an adequate way to balance skill, because tier 1 differs so wildly in terms of skill.
There is
Yes.
a very wide range, and it's one of those things where, I mean, I highly doubt it will happen, but it'd be interesting or maybe beneficial to see it be given like a clean slate, because it is so jumbled at this point.
Yeah, either that or
find a way to tighten it.
add an A tier 0.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like, really hard to get. That has a really high skill threshold.
Yeah. Put
Even
in
if it's
one
still
more.
something you can grind over time, just make it so obnoxiously hard to get that eventually you're gonna have the really hardcore player up there, and more of the casual guys are gonna stay in tier 1.
Yep. Yeah, I would say tier, as you said, it's tier 1 is a very broad church. If you're an average or below average player, if you play long enough, you'll usually get into tier 1, maybe tier 2, easy peasy. Tiers below that, 3, 4, 5, are for new players and those who are on the lower end of the bell curve. And in some ways, it is important to keep them separate in the sense that, if they're struggling, to not walk into walls and acquire targets and actually hit anything, they're just not going to be able to compete even with your average player. And having them mixed in with the regular players, just sort of adds a whole bunch of confusion to the match. Where there's a lot of baby seals just waddling around who have no place on a battlefield, at least on a moderately competent battlefield. When they're all fighting each other, they can all it's somewhat equivalent to tutorial. Like I would say tiers at the moment, they don't mean much for tier 1 and for most players, but for when you're starting out, it's sort of a tutorial where all the players who are still trying to find out the difference between a torso and the leg facing go and face off against each other.
Well, how about this, guys? I think I talked to Lars a little bit about this. Is that instead of actually merging the group queue and the solo queue, why not just keep the group queue the way it is, and then have the 4-man queue inside solo queue? That way, people can. Because the biggest complaint a lot of people from reading the forums is that they want to play with their friends, but they don't want to go in group queue because there's no one on. Right, there's basically takes a long time, or they get stomped a lot. Like I know, like whenever I jumped in the group queue, and I'm sure you guys experienced this, it took like 20 minutes to go find a match.
Oh, it took longer than that.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? And instead of actually merging the tryhards and the guys who are concerned about their PSR scores, let them battle it out in the group queue and do whatever they got to do, and still have it for the 4-mans and with all the testing and everything else inside the solo queue. That way, everyone's kind of happy. The tryhards and everything else, they'll go off and battle each other, do their thing, and like I can see like Ian's like no, but a lot of complaints was that they're not playing with their friends on the solo queue, and they have to sync drop a lot. And then a lot of people inside solo queue, their friends, streamers, and everything else, they sync queue a lot, and that was a big problem inside of a lot of people not wanting to have groups of people, big groups of people. I mean.
What are you suggesting that basically, if me and a couple of friends, we form a 4-man, we can jump into either solo queue or
group queue.
Only groups fighting one another?
Yeah.
I've got one argument against that. That's
okay,
kind of okay. You're assuming people are going to decide depending on what's best for the game overall. And I truly
I'm
disagree.
optimistic. Let's see.
If I look at the forums, if I look at Reddit, I'm absolutely certain if we had that kind of system, certain people would still jump into their form and would still jump into quick play and do their thing, trying to farm their score and such.
But
there's a whole bunch of ways you could do it. Like in my head, the simplest answer would be you have the quick play, quote unquote, like the casual play. And that's the same as what we got right now, solos and group, and then you have the higher risk reward play, which is just simply you get more rewards, more C-bills, more XP if you play on that in that track. That way, if you want your time to be worth more, you play in that other track. Though who knows how that plays out, because everybody could just say, well, I want more rewards and I'll take the occasional more stomps. But if stomps is something that really upsets people, they can jump into the lower reward bracket. But people don't like the feeling of that, because they're like, oh, I suck, or I just want to play casually, so therefore the game isn't rewarding me. But you need an incentive for the pros to really face off against one another.
Yeah,
and that would actually be the group queue.
Which is where they used to have the comp play, but the comp play is only open certain times of the year, which I think on the last podcast we mentioned the comp section, so we have to kind of correct that path maybe from the last podcast and mention that we do recognize now that comp play is not open every day of the year.
I was wrong on that. Yeah,
which is just kind of stupid. I mean, they just keep it open. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that way
you could do a betting system. Like 8v8s, and to enter you have to fess up 15 MC, and when you win you get some of the opponent's 15 MC.
That'd be kind of fun. That would be something for Solaris mode, because that would make
then
Solaris
you're getting
pretty
into the whole entire item of gambling possibly, or something.
It wouldn't be gambling. It would just be you pay a fee to enter and you get out rewards. It's the same as like the Hearthstone arena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not used to that, so okay, that's cool then.
Yeah.
It's not something I would recognize would work for Mechwarrior Online, but it's a fun idea.
I mean, it's not going to solve all the problems, don't get me wrong, but it will solve a lot, some of them, of the tryhards freaking out and going inside solo queue and freaking out their PSR scores about being stomped and all that kind of stuff. So that might solve some of the problems, but not everything what's going on.
No, I disagree, because right now, what are people playing for who are really experienced to have all their stuff? They're not playing for C-builds. They're probably not playing for MC or customization, because
they're forced to play inside solo queue like right now.
Yeah, but what are they playing for? They're not playing for any in-game reward. They're playing for
their own
pride.
Egos.
They're playing to win. They're playing for their stats. And what is the best way to win, get good stats, and buff up your ego? You go into solo queue and club.
But the thing is, though, like, but the more of the ego and the more the more of what Biter was saying, the more incentive to get inside comp play, or like the comp group play, like what we're talking about, is to jump in there for ego, have the leaderboards going in the group queues. Basically, here's the best pilot, here's the best dude on the on the group queues. So make that more competitive. Compared to what
you would have to put leaderboards, you would have to make different scores. And I think the most important one, Charles List, would have to separate it out, because apparently everyone cares about Charles List.
And I think that would be a lot better, and it'll solve a lot more problems than what's happening now, because you're just seeing people just being pissed off that they got to go inside group queue or like solo queue with 4-man groups. They want to go in with their friends with 12 mans. They want to do their units and all that kind of stuff. So this will solve a lot more problems than actually what now is causing.
Yeah, but also too, so also maybe to play, a slight different angle too, is that some of the people who might be more competent in the game, who might be more experienced, they're saying that they don't want to be matched in with solo queue, because they also have a fear that, possibly the people who might be inexperienced, but because they are playing against comp players, that they're going to go ahead and win a lot of matches, and it's going to push players away. So a few of them are saying that they're not going in to just club seals because they want to club seals. It's just that they're playing the way they normally play, because that's just it just comes natural to them.
Well, yeah, they're forced to play that, though. They're forced to play solo queue.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
But I'm just making sure that I'm clear in the air, is that the way I was understanding the way you and Ian were talking is that there's this mentality that people think they're going in purposely to club a seal. But
I think there are plenty of people
who do a lot of people
very much
on
purpose.
I
don't think it's the average one, though.
I'm not saying that people aren't going in to do that. There are going to be some. But I'm saying, to be fair to some people out there that might be out there on the forums and such, a few of them do have some regard and do bring up a point of that the way they play naturally is just on that comp level, and that basically they're going in playing at a higher degree, and they're not going in deliberately to cause a bad time for the newer player. They might, but a newer player might get discouraged if they're going against the same person over and over and over again, and they see them on the opposing team, and also one thing too is that, kind of going from the forum from what I saw, is a person brought up the idea of maybe take away player names on the red team whenever you first go in, because it is like a mental psych when you see a person who is a very, very top tier player, and whenever you go in and you drop against the red team and you see that really top tier player, the first idea, and I've seen it happen with our group too, you know, with mainly with like a few people, it's like, oh, there's that player on that team. Well, this is gonna suck. I'm gonna go ahead and fuck off. You know.
Yeah, there's some who just run off and commit suicide. I've also seen the inverse when I was playing the first week Friday, where we had 6 people on the goon squad on our side.
Yeah.
And they were just saying, "Oh, everyone run into basement and whatnot," and all the puggies sort of moved forward. It was on HPG, and they all just stayed in the spawn, and they did not communicate with us. And they knew that just 6 of them could take out the whole enemy team, so they just used the puggies as basically meat shields, and they from long range daggered the enemy, and then withdrew to the defensive position. So. Yeah, that was a not fun experience, even being on the side of the stacked team.
And even with you being a more experienced solo player, you know, and it's not like you're a inexperienced pug. You know? And I think I actually saw
I
that
bought time
online. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought time very well for the most part, but even so, I could only circle around and run away in a Marauder so long before I get overrun.
Which that in its own right is also, I mean, there's no way to really fix communication between players, I think. You know, it's one of those things where it'd be nice where if they could communicate, but then I know whenever our group drops in Discord on Friday nights, we tend to try to communicate with the team of the pugs, hoping that they will go ahead and join. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we don't get discouraged when they don't. But there is a group that just says that they've given up on pugs because they never listen, and that's never going to be an issue we can fix.
Yeah.
All right. To return to his week update thing, just sort of try and wrap this all up. Return to the roots. It would be they have a predominant leading on tier matchmaking, but as we said, tier matchmaking it only really filters out the really new or underwhelming players from the average players. And the problem is we have right now is just that you do have a lot of the very best going up against the mediocre. And however, you need to refine tier matchmaking to really figure things out, because it also feels like, when a lance of the best go and drop, they're still going to be they should be heavily weighed, because they're together. Whereas the current matchmaker, it seems to go, there's 4 people from 2 to 8. Well, I want to put groups together with the same tag or something. It seems like it sort of pushes people of the same groups together, and it doesn't seem to. It doesn't weigh the tippy top as tippy top as it should be, and therefore, it should put them with a bunch of tier 3s to sort of balance it out. And on the other side, it wants to make sure that there's plenty of slightly above average players, which requires, as the triangle would say, more time. I just think it needs more definition. It needs to figure out how the better those stats when stacked together will create a bigger snowball effect. It needs more fidelity is the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
fidelity.
And I kind of hope they're going to go ahead and maybe do another tweak. Hopefully, maybe at the beginning of this week to see if they can fix a little bit of the issues. But Biter, if you want to go back and take a look at the screenshots you took from last night, what did you find on a few of your things?
Yeah, because all right, sorry, you just caught me. Because I know. I was going to say on the regards of fidelity was when we're looking through the stats, all I can look at is tonnage. I can't tell at the end of a match what tiers people are. I can recognize units if they have the same unit tags, and obviously Alpha Lance is always the group lance. So yeah, this Friday we did a whole bunch of last year a whole bunch of group drops, and I took note of the tonnage of both teams and the tonnage of the groups, just to see how the matchmaker has sort of balanced them, because it is factoring in weight groups, but nonetheless, there are going to be disparities. Like the first game, Both groups were max tonnage, 260 tons, but blue team was, Larsh's team 865, whereas red team was 715. This resulted in, a 12-8, 12-4 casualties. So, I think it's just under the bar of being a stomp, or just at the bar of being a stomp.
With the 12-4 ending, you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With only 4 losses on your team as opposed to the entire enemy team being wiped out. And I think that's the bar that they use.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, they're just the Larsh's team had 150 more tons than the opposition, and both teams were already fairly beefy at 700 tons plus. This was the biggest disparity, but it wasn't due to the groups. It was down to the solo players. Both groups, took as much as they could. So what's going on with the solo players? Well, I haven't gone through all of these games, but I would bet that red team took locusts, whereas blue team would take things like adders. That red team would take things like mad dogs or things like that, and blue team will take Orions. And it's just because in the end, the matchmaker does not have fidelity in regards to matching weight tonnage, which is what I was going to say about the triangle thing.
Yeah.
That going through it, the tonnages can be quite similar. The next match, both groups were 240 tons. They actually matched up quite nicely, and then the total difference was only 20 tons. The match after that, 125 tons difference and 30 tons difference in the group. So 30 of that was due to the group, and then 95 was due to how they matched up the puggies. And overall, at least, the numbers are all over the place in regards to how the different teams are. They're usually somewhat in the same ballpark, but there are times when it's just those outliers that really hit you when you have 200 tons or more than the opposition, and it's usually purely down just to it matching weight groups, but not matching actual tonnage numbers. And whilst my point, at least, and why I focus on tonnage is it's something we as players can actually look at and analyze. It's also tiers is very complicated. There's lots of ways you can figure that out. But weight class balancing, weight balancing, like a matchmaker, mathematics, numbers, computer algorithms, all that, they should be able to balance out numbers. Mm-hmm. And at the current system they've implemented, they've had for so long, has not been able to balance out. Yeah. So it was interesting. It does at least indicate that when I was playing and when Lars was playing, we do still have matches with huge tonnage balances that weren't necessarily. I do not remember so much in solo queue in the past, and that was because in solo queue in the past, it wasn't so prioritized for speed. It was prioritizing much more weight class balancing. So if everyone are in heavies and you choose a heavy, it will tell you to wait. Because speed is actually been prioritized more than it used to be, it is reducing as the triangle goes, how well it will balance weight class balancing. And in the end, that's kind of why I am just not bothering the game, because everything's so heavy and it's turret warren line, as I mentioned last week.
I actually made a good point. I was watching a streamer, last night after I got off, and he was playing a light mech, and then he started getting stomped like crazy, and he was in a group. And so, like we talked about that before, about wanting to have fun playing certain type of mechs when you go play. Instead, they have to go play assault and the heavy mechs. Once you started actually going into heavy mechs and assault mechs, he started to quote, he doesn't like them, but he plays them just because he wants to be part of the team to go and start stomping or be better at what he's doing instead of actually playing light mech that he normally likes to play. So that has been an issue. That definitely has been an issue.
Yeah, it's also an issue where that player in particular might not be skilled in that weight class. So they're being forced to take a heavy or assault because they got to fill that tonnage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
The funny, it's a very odd thing with player behavior, and this is I don't know, if I would get a little self-indulgent for a little while, it'd be sort of biter tactics and strategy. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I have a 55 tonner. It has a rack 2, a narc, some streaks, and some small lasers on. The whole idea is that I run up and, at long range, I start spraying rack 2 fire at people. A lot of mechs are specialized. If they can't fire back, they'll have to run and hide, or they'll have to charge me down. If they are bigger than me, like a direwolf or something, they'll often just say, "Oh, it's just a rack 2," and they'll start trading back, which is why I narc them. I'm just like, "Hey, everyone, there's a guy who wants to stand and fight. Get him!" And if they charge me, because they're like an SRM brawler, I have, if they're a light and my racks aren't effective, I have streaks that are good against them. And even if they get really close, I'll have small lasers and other efficient weaponry that they all stack together to make me an equal mech to them. The long and short of it, though, is that there's a lot of psychology that I play into when I'm a medium mech, and if I'm facing other medium mechs, I force them to run away, I force them to charge me, I narc the aggressive opponents, I play around with psychology. As it is, though, if every opponent is a direwolf, the direwolf is usually thinking, "Oh, I'm a big, slow turret." And the big slow turret is either going to, his only options are to shoot back at me. He doesn't usually think, "Well, if I try and run away, it will take me 5 minutes." So they're not going to do it. So all I do is I dack at them with the rack 2 for a little bit. I narc them to say, "Hey, everyone, there's a direwolf." And they say, "Yep, there's 12 of them." Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not actually able to do that much. On a tactical level, I can rack it. I can slowly shoot down a direwolf. I can narc it and help my team that way. But as a medium, I'm not. Direwolves are not that tactile, and I know they're not all direwolves. It's just people are most familiar with that as being the turret. If it's a Mad Cat Mark II, if it's any of the other turret mechs, they love just sitting sitting on their hill and shooting at anything that moves. And you can't really. It's hard to suppress them. It's hard to tell them to go somewhere else. It's hard to make everyone jump on top of them when all your friends are turrets sitting on another hill. Yeah. So tactically, I'm just with everything being so heavy and ranged firepower being supreme and there's not very much movement. It all really just comes down to what hill do the turrets take and how good are the turrets at turreting. What's their DPS? Mm-hmm. And that's why at least my biter builds are not so effective, because I cannot play much into psychology. I narc them and I go, "He's over there!" And the only times it works is if a turret has LRMs, and that's it. Yeah.
Everything's changed with with as far as tactical wise and everything else inside the game normally now, because you have different types of groups of people, tryhards versus the solo casual type people. So everything's changing as far as tactic wise. Just give
it's not down to group merging with solos. It's all predominantly down to tonnage, and the fact that there was an incentive in the past that you had to wait longer if you wanted to drop in a heavier mech. That's gone. So now to win, drop heavy like everyone else. Do not drop in an 80 tonner, drop in the 100, 95, 90 tonner. Do not drop in a 60 tonner. Drop in your best 75, 70 ton turret.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though, the whole dynamic of the game, it has changed, because you have two different types of groups drop in, not including tonnage. Including tonnage, but actually skill players as well. I know last night when I was looking at it, people weren't really actually doing diverse builds. They were just doing hammer builds, and that's all they were doing. They were 10 medium lasers and just unload on one mech and just do that kind of stuff. That's what I experienced last night playing solo queue, is they weren't really doing tactical builds. They were just hammer builds.
People have always done weapon boats is the thing. They've always done the laser boats.
But it was a lot more than I noticed, though. Yeah,
I would thoroughly disagree with you, Bob. I absolutely am of the opinion that a lot of the issues we're encountering right now are not caused by the merge. Most of these issues have been there for months and years, and it's just showing more currently.
This is a problem particular to group queue, particularly if you had group queue with only small groups. Mm-hmm. And that is somewhat what we're seeing here, because we only have small groups and only solos, and the tonnages are all mixed together and there's no incentive against taking smaller mechs. Like, looking through all of Lash's previous games, this Friday, he didn't come up against any pros. There was no big stomping by, 228s, a Goon Squad, or whoever, the recognizable pro faces. It was all randos facing up against one another.
Mm-hmm.
It depends when you drop, Bob. If you drop later on Friday, because you were playing Fallout 76 whilst we were matching up. If you drop later in the day, most people have signed out. It's already gotten quite late, so only the pros are around. So late Friday is torture for regular players.
Yeah. Well, like I played for about an hour and a half before I actually had to jump off and go play something else, basically. But but all this is because of a group queue, because you have two different groups of players coming in.
Late Fridays, certainly.
Yeah.
I will agree. Late Fridays, those hardcore players, those weirdos who stick around late at night like me, will be playing, and the safe haven or solo queue during those times are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Regular hours, though, when most regular people are playing, there just aren't that many pros around. They're proportionally, pros are just not so common. Yeah, we had how many matches yesterday? Last year it was like 10 or so.
We had like 10 or 12, give or take.
Yeah, and we came across no pros on either side, at least for me. Joining Lush's groups or whatnot.
No goons or anything.
Nothing like that. No, it was all random groups for the most part.
All just randos. But the biggest change was, even though it was all still just randos, the average tonnage per group is 750, around about 750. 750 around 12 players is like a 60 tonner each, 65 tonner, something like that. So everyone are taking heavies on average. It used to be on the average was. It's hard to say, but it feels like it was lower, like 50, 55 tons.
Yeah. Now, is there any way that they can put like a tonnage cap on the teams?
The biggest reason why everyone didn't always just drop in heavies and assaults in the past was simply you had to wait longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer the case. Not so much anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix that one.
You make people wait longer.
It's something we've talked about last week. It's not an inherent issue of the merge. It's something we've been seeing for months now, that the weight is getting heavier and heavier on average, because really there's no incentive to play light mechs. You get nothing for narc, you get close to nothing for tech. Spotting in UAV is kind of meh, and the way people move a light UAV isn't useful anyway. And I think that's more the issue than the merge here. It's just the inherent lack of rewards for playing light mechs.
And all the structure of solo queue has, of course, disappeared. That we're not splitting out the lancers into different starting locations, etc., etc.
Yeah, like as we've said, the merge is certainly stressing certain issues that have been there for a while, and it's putting out more issues. But it's not all because of the merge.
No, I'm not saying it's everything. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's part of it, though. It has to be part of it.
It'll be part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also important.
There's been issues for years. There's been issues for years.
It's just I've seen so many people blame this merge for everything that's been wrong in the past week.
No.
And it's honestly getting somewhat tiring when they bring up stuff that's been an issue for years.
Yeah, well, the forum has kind of like died down at this point. Like, no one's really even going into the forum anymore. It's been very slow. Oh yeah, it's been very slow.
Everyone has said that part, and
no more fun reading.
Yeah, I mean that's also what we've said before the test even started. The test needs to be 4 weeks long, so people kind of get tired of arguing all the time and just play the game. Mm-hmm. And I would totally expect the next 2 weeks to give fairly decent numbers.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because what did Paul put this last update? Was that on Monday?
Yeah, this week on Monday. So 1 week before this podcast airs.
Yeah, so hopefully maybe he'll put the next update on Monday, which will be we'll see.
Yep. If you're listening to this podcast, check the forums. There might be something new.
Yeah, or there might not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or there might not.
It's a mystery. We never know with Paul.
We might not get anything at all, and it's just going to
speculation galore.
Yeah.
Let us fight. All right, so I think real quick before we kind of like put a cap on this, personal experience from last night. Bob you did more solo play. Ian and I did more group. We had the most people in my Discord than we've ever had in, I want to say, about 2.5 years. Because we had T-Tree, if people were watching.
Oh, God.
T-Tree has not been in our Discord for about, I want to say, about 1.5 years or longer. And he brought in a slew of new players last night who had never played. So it took a while to find some matches because some players were trying to figure out how to build mechs and taking some advice of how to build a mech and yada yada yada. But it was a lot of fun. Just so in terms of not the gameplay itself, but just the overall experience on our end from last night as a group. We had fun, being able to see people we haven't talked with in years, meeting new people who were just being brought into the game and teaching them the ropes. And kind of tying back to something we mentioned earlier is that the newer cadet people, they work better when they're in your group and not going in solo.
Yes, absolutely.
Because at that point they have someone to rely on and they're not just going in and being clubbed.
Yeah, personally, I played also Group Q. I switched around with some different groups of different skill levels. So, on average, I didn't notice anything outstanding. I never dropped against any of the Twilight groups, so I didn't have any of those outstanding matches. It was on average fairly solid. I didn't experience Turret Warrior online yesterday. I think most of the matches that I've played, especially later ones, have been more NASCAR focused still. And my big takeaway is I met 2 people again that are completely unrelated to our current group that I've played with 3-4 years ago that have been coming back to the game in the past week. So yeah, more old people coming back. That's basically my takeaway.
Yeah. Bob, what do you got?
As you guys bring up a good point, though, as far as group queue and being together with friends and stuff like that, I think the game is better with a group queue, with playing with you guys. Being alone and playing that way was kind of like, it kind of sucked, to tell you the truth. When I'm kind of saying, hey, okay, when you go here and here, you get, people don't really listen to you as much than they do, like, and say you're in a group like, Lars's group, like here's the First Circle podcast running out there, here's Lars running out there with Ian or whatever. Basically, you get more, I guess, people like listening to you. But overall, like, I would have to say, as a group, playing with groups and friends, it's 100% better. But playing by yourself, it kind of sucks. It just, I just didn't have a lot of fun, so I kind of quit after about an hour and a half. After playing about, like, I think 9 or 10 matches, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. So I went to like another game, and I'll probably say friends with groups 8, and by yourself about a 5. Basically as far as score wise.
Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten to the scoring part yet.
Yeah, since we're doing score, Bob, overall, I need an overall score to do the math.
What's that?
An overall score.
I need a
score of
total score. From all your perspectives combined, give it a score.
6.5.
6.5, okay.
Yeah. I just did not enjoy solo queue, like, whatsoever, basically. I think the game is better with friends.
Okay,
all right. Well, actually, we didn't even ask for Biter's perspective overall.
Well, we get everybody's numbers first. And
Okay.
Who already said
All
that
right.
bit?
So with my number, I think it has not changed from last week. I think I had a 7 last week. I'm still putting it at a 7. Where I didn't really talk about my solo experience, but kind of like what Bob had. I did a solo drop, I think, on Tuesday for a couple hours. I didn't experience a lot of stomps. Then again, I found myself playing with a few people who were more on the upper tier, more skilled set on my team, actually, just by going solo, just by chance. But yeah, I could see how communication is an issue when you do solo still. Group is still fun. It's still more fun with friends. But things still need to be, I think, tightened a teeny bit on that to get it to a nice sweet spot, which is not there yet. So it's I would say above middle ground. I'd say 7 still.
Okay. Last week I rated this change an 8 out of 10. I'm going down to a 7.8 out of 10 because I like 7.8 as a number. And I just have to take up some points because I was really hoping for more info and potentially more changes and adjustments to be made. And it's been more quiet than I was hoping for, so I'm taking off some numbers, but I'm still very optimistic that this change is overall a really good thing for this game.
All right, yeah, and finally, yes, I didn't actually play any real matches. I did watch Lash's stream. It was like every time I was like, oh, okay, Lash, just take AMS, take something with some range, and shoot from a hill, and they usually did better. Lash, in fact, did some old classic pushes trying to do the old failed rotation metas, and they failed abysmally.
Bad. Oh, it was bad.
Yes. So I just I was not in. It was just not interesting to really. I had no interest in going into Turret Warrior Online, honestly. So my ratings stay the same mostly. It's on solo queue. All the structure's gone, so it's a 4 out of 10. It's a very bad improvement for solo queue with all the issues of group queue being thrown into solo queue. And for group queue experience, I still am feeling, what was it, 6 out of 10? Mm-hmm. I do want to see some experimentation because they say they are balancing just by weight class, and I need to see some more data whether if your group all takes mediums, will the enemy have 4 mediums? Will the weight classes always balance out? Because currently groups always feel like they need to take max tonnage, and in some degrees that's correct, but I think it might be more correct you always want to take the heaviest in each weight category, and that might actually be the most optimal solution. We've seen some groups do really well if they take dual heavy goose Fafnirs, for example, and that's because they take the heaviest assaults and hopefully something along the lines of the heaviest lights, and that gives you an edge over the puggies because they're going to be taking something lighter on average. So I will need to experiment with that, but as it stands, this is not the game I spent thousands of hours with, and even with the refuge of solo queue has gone for me. So even though I'm kind of interested in the changes, I'm just not interested in coming back.
Boy, faction play goes away, and and now solo queue. Pretty much.
Oh, scouting's gone for me, and
scouting.
Yeah, solo queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so
Actually, you're right.
score.
Reverse call. 6.5.
Yep, 6.6 rounded up compared to the 6.95.
So,
what's my score last week? It was 7?
6.95 out of 10.
Okay.
So yeah, we're on average, we're rating it slightly lower, probably because A, we're getting more experience and we're somewhat experienced at bad sides, and B, because PGI is not as active as we've been hoping for.
Yeah. So PGI, we want more data come Monday. We want to see what you find and what you're going to do next.
I will say, even within that 1 week, at least the first week update, he's saying, "Oh, I experimented a lot. I'm going to present this all with graphs, and I'm actually going to present you some data." That is a remarkable step up above usual PGI implementation.
It's true.
So I will have to say I do give him hats off for that. It gives us a glimpse. It's just we as players we always wish for more.
True.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Just give us database access.
Yeah, no, we can't go that far.
Just give us a read-only access to the game result.
All right.
That's not going to open up a can of worms.
That's going to be not a good idea. All right. So anyway, guys, this has been the First Circuit Podcast, number 121, with your hosts, Ian, Old Bob,
Goodbye,
Biter, and myself, Larsh. We look forward to seeing what happens next time, and we'll see you next week. Woot woot. Woot woot.